Forgiveness is really, really important in our relationships, and it's really healthy for us to do, but it's not the end of the process. There is something else you need to combine with forgiveness so that you can really move on and feel safe in your relationships and feel good about the decisions that you're making and be able to truly repair and continue to live your life without being stuck to this thing that happened. So we're gonna dive into that in this video. I'm Stacy Rocklein, and I'm on a mission to eradicate loneliness. One of the ways that we create loneliness in our relationships is with ruptures, arguments, disagreements, just things that happen, distance. And forgiveness is a great way to bring yourself back to connection. And it's something you don't do for the other person. I mean, it might make them feel better, but it's really something that you do for yourself because you don't want to carry this around anymore. You want to move on. You don't want to be stuck to that experience or still suffering pain from it. So you want to forgive, but you have to add in something else depending on the relationship. That's what you determine which of these things it is. And that's either to have a conversation following up something that's happened, a boundary, or an ending. So let's break down each one of those. In your really close relationships, little things happen all the time, and that's totally normal. And we forgive, and it's pretty easy to do with someone that we love very dearly, but sometimes we don't have a conversation with the person afterwards, and that is a missed opportunity. We don't want to rock the boat, right? So we just decide we're not going to say anything, or we're like, okay, I think I'm over it, so I don't need to mention it. But actually, it really is important that we have conversations about our hurt feelings because it helps us understand each other better. It helps us create more intimacy. And sometimes your feelings are hurt and it's not that the other person meant to hurt them or even knows that they're hurt. So you can do forgiveness for yourself, but then to ask somebody, hey, can we have a conversation about this thing that happened? I want to share with you that my feelings were really hurt here. And the appropriate time to do this is when they may not even know, right? Or there was just a misunderstanding of some kind, or they have a behavior that they're doing, and it's always good to have a conversation before you put in a boundary if it's a smaller thing, to give them an opportunity to correct that behavior that's hurting you. So you might just say like, hey, when you do this makes me feel a certain way. Would you consider changing that behavior? It's like the thing you do before you actually have to put in a boundary, which we're going to talk about next. So have a conversation so you have open communication about your hurt feelings in conjunction with forgiveness. Like, do forgiveness, but then don't just bury it down because it will come up again in different ways. This will repeat, or you'll bring it up later and the person will be like, wait, what? So have those conversations to go with forgiveness. The next thing is boundaries. We need boundaries for behavior that is not tolerable to us. Maybe you had that conversation with somebody, but they keep doing the same thing. People avoid forgiveness because they think, why should I forgive them? They just are gonna do it again. Well, that's because you're forgiving without a boundary. You have to add in boundary so that you know that you're safe. Because when you're doing a boundary, what you're doing is you're drawing a circle of safety around the relationship and saying, all the behaviors outside of this circle are not okay. And how we're going to treat each other is inside this circle. So the boundary is in support of the relationship. And remember, boundaries are not the other person has to change. It's if they do that behavior, the action that you're gonna take. Because when you put in the boundary, all of a sudden you have this relief that you're not gonna be put back in that same situation again, because you've protected yourself by promising to take an action if that happens again. It makes it so much easier to forgive, knowing it's not gonna be another future experience that you won't act on. It's a way of just kind of easing your forward movement after you've done forgiveness. So that's another option, is a boundary. Then you could have an ending. So there are humongous hurts, like things that are just almost unforgivable, although I would argue Pretty much everything is forgivable. It's just up to the person. Not that you have to forgive. I'm not saying that at all. But it's so bad that you can't be in a relationship with this person. In fact, you can't forgive if you're still in the relationship with the person. Like, it's just too hard and you need some distance, or this is just not a healthy match for you. And you want to forgive because that opens your heart up. It keeps you healthy and all, tidy on the inside emotionally. But that might still mean that this person is not right for you. So forgiveness may have to go with an ending. Maybe it's temporary, maybe it's forever. I mean, some things we forgive and the ending has already happened. They're not in our life anymore, or they've passed away. So we're not in that situation where we have to constantly be in contact with them. But for other people, it feels impossible to forgive when we are having to confront their behavior all the time. This is the case for some relationships where a person has just sort of refused to honor your boundary, and they do the same thing over and over and over, and it feels impossible to keep forgiving for the same thing over and over. But that's because you're putting yourself back in that situation again, and that's why you need a boundary. And if that doesn't work, you might need an ending, or at least no contact for a while. Now, if you have this option, and there are people in my life that I don't see anymore, I still want to feel like loving and generous in my heart toward them. That helps kind of anchor in my forgiveness. So I will, when they come to my mind and I feel any kind of charge, first of all, I'll question whether I've truly forgiven and if I need to keep at that process. But also I will wish them, blessings, wish them that they are safe and healthy and at peace and at ease, even though I'm not in a relationship with them. You can love somebody from afar, right? You can love someone very much and know you cannot be with them. They are not for you. It's not healthy for you, but it still feels better when we have love in our heart for that person. And it's also a pretty good sign that forgiveness is kind of stuck, because you don't wish them ill, you don't hate them. You can love them from afar or feel neutral about them, whatever it may be. So if it's feeling like forgiveness is not working for you, it might be because you're not combining it with one of these things, either having a communication about it, a conversation with somebody, doing a boundary so that you're well protected and you can forgive. You've got the space to be able to do that. Or create an ending, do an ending, end a relationship, because that's the only way you feel like you can forgive. And now you've got a formula for really being able to move on. And it just so happens right now that I'm actually writing a book about forgiveness, which is very exciting. I'm kind of coming to the end of the first draft of it. And I talk about it in my newsletter. So if you want to make sure that you know when that comes out, or you just want to hear about my little tips and strategies and tools for forgiveness and all things relationships, make sure you go to stacyrocklein.com and sign up for my newsletter, and you'll get that, I think it's Tuesdays, once a week. Okay, good luck with forgiveness. Make sure you add something else, and happy relationships to you.